Just a tad bit of a ways north on this here Highway 28, just a mile or two past Sawyer's Creek, you will come across a town known as Tuskegee. That, folks, is going to be the focus of this episode of Let's Explore This. This here is Tuskeegee Creek, one of the 4 creeks that strongly define the south shore of Fontana Lake, the other 3 being Panther Creek, Stokoa Creek, and Sawyer's Creek. Now, folks, you ought to be careful along this here road, Lower Tuskegee Road. This creek here, despite being alongside Lower Tuskegee Road for a bit, is not Tuskegee Creek. No, it is Maple Branch. This area here, where I am standing, is denoted on this map by the circle. Now, as this here map clearly shows, there is a convergence. This here is Maple Branch, which, just a bit of a ways down that-a-way, runs into the main creek. As with all 3 of the other South Shore creeks, Tuskegee, too, is divided into 2 sections. This road here, folks, it is Upper Tuskegee Road, but you will also have to be careful here. This creek here, it is Tuskegee Creek. However, up here, it is only one of 2. You see, this road here, it is South Fork Road, and down that road, at this bridge here, we have, yet again, Tuskegee Creek. This one, though, it is the South Fork. And this one, it is the North Fork. Now, as this map clearly shows, the black circle, it denotes the point where the 2 forks come together to form the main Tuskegee Creek. So, yes, if you are not careful, you could easily get mightily confused in trying to determine which creek is which around here. Eventually, at one time prior to the creation of Fontana Lake, Tuskegee Creek, it simply entered the Little Tennessee River, and it did so about 2 miles downstream from Stokoa Creek. And the 2 drainages, they are only like 1 to 2 miles apart for much of their lengths. Reportedly, in the early 1900s, Tuskegee and its valley held a bustling community. As this map shows, Tuskegee lies in a broader valley than that of Sawyer's Creek. Interestingly, Sawyer's Creek itself was at one time considered a subunit of Tuskegee. It likely came to be its own community as population changed. Eventually, it came to have its own school. That area even had a post office at a time when it was called Brock. Now, this here is a document. Yes, it is kind of large, falling a bit short of just 200 pages. Its name, too, yes, it's long, so you can take the time to read it. But part of the research for this episode does come from that document, as well as from this document. Again, its name is long, too. You have got eyes, at least I think you do, so you can read it. An even larger portion of the research done for this episode, however, it tends to come from somewhere else. This here, it is the table of contents for an online book, The Graham County Centennial, 1872 to 1972. Most of the information gathered for Tuskegee comes directly from this book. But, folks, here's the thing. A few of the places mentioned I will not be able to locate. In order to locate such places, all I have to go on is roads near residences, and the residences are listed by name. Finding their exact locations, that might require talking to locals. Now, folks, yes, I did originally plan on going to the lake. Now, you will see it, but it will be for a different but close-by region discussed at the very end of this episode. For most of Tuskegee, though, Lower Tuskegee Road, it is supposed to lead to the lake, at least from a side road. However, it does turn into a dirt road here, as you can see. That side road, supposedly, is off of this dirt road. Things do get a bit strange back here, with some side roads leading to sites that appear to be on private property. Do one of those lead to the lake? Well, one is supposed to lead nearby, though I am not sure if the lake itself is all too visible. But, folks, we have another problem. There is a storm coming, a thunderstorm, that could lead, possibly, to lots of rain. This dirt road, it is not a road I want to be on in a downpour, so no lakeside views for you until a bit later. However, prior to the creation of this here lake, one could have found 2 islands planted right in the middle of the river. They had come to be designated as Higgins Islands via this map, with no structures shown on the islands or nearby. The strange thing is, however, the Tennessee Valley Authority Land Acquisition Survey did find that one island had been divided into 34 lots. That was termed the W.C. Cullens and Others subdivision, and the 34 lots, they ranged in size from 3/100ths to about 2/5 acres, and they had about 26 different owners. Still, no structures were ever depicted on this map. The histories of those island subdivisions have reportedly not been researched. As such, their significance to the overall community is not well established. Such is also the case with a couple of nearby inland subdivisions. Overall, though, the growth and development of this community, Stocoa that is, did in fact closely parallel that of Tuskegee, not counting residences. The first buildings of importance in this community were used as both a church and a school. Most of the people were Baptist, and the heaviest population, it was, at first, in the lower half of the valley, and as such, the community eventually came to be divided into 2 school districts. Tuskegee's first school and church was a pine log structure located in the meadow across from the present residence of Jim Bailey. As a small boy, Charles Jenkins, he went to that very school. Now, folks, do not ask me if Jim Bailey, today in 2022, still resides there. This info is from 1972. Of course, the property could have since then been passed on to others. And do not ask me where it might have been located. If you are lucky, an old deed might tell you. Later, another building was erected farther up the creek, about 1/4 mile below the residence of Fred Higdon. It was commonly called the White Schoolhouse. For a while, it served not only Tuskegee, but also Sawyer's Creek. Again, folks, do not ask me where the residence of Fred Higdon might have been. An old deed might tell you. You know, though, the road that connected Tuskegee and Sawyer's Creek, it intersected with the Tuskegee at the Fred Higdon place, passed through the Bildine Gap, and connected with the Sawyer's Creek Road at the Ike Sawyer Farm, later owned in part by Murdy Carver. Sawyer's Creek students did use this road, and where was that road located? Not sure, as I could not find anything about where Bildine Gap is located. Now, Tuskegee, it is believed to have been divided into two districts prior to 1911. The site for the Upper Tuskegee School was across the South Road from the Stiles Farm, likely a farm having ties to the historic Stiles clan. Well, that Stiles Farm, it was reportedly later owned by Harley Sawyer, likely of the clan that gave the nearby Sawyer's Creek its name. The site, though, reportedly, it was less than a mile from where the road now intersects with this here Highway 28 at the Tuskegee Motel. What? A motel? Do you see a motel at this intersection? You know what, folks? This might be Upper Tuskegee Road, but this here, it is the intersection with Tuskegee Circle. As stated earlier, the roads and creeks in this area, they can get a bit confusing. Tuskegee Circle, it turns out, is yet another road that runs along the creek, and it actually also does intersect with Highway 28, but yes, there is a motel, though today in 2022, apparently, it is permanently closed. Well, folks, not so fast. Yes, it is permanently closed, but guess what? We might have a little bit of time. Not a whole lot of time, just a little bit of time for a tour of this now abandoned motel. For this part, we are going to turn off lecture mode and turn on explore mode, and then, near the end, I will try and delve a bit into the history of this motel. I will admit, though, I did not allocate much time for that. Let's see. Here's one of the rooms. And then moving in here, we've got another room. Well, this looks more like this room had a kitchen of sorts. It had a sink. What is that, like a washer? No. It's kind of a weird looking washer, dryer. Yeah, it's something else, not sure. Is there any name on it? No, what does that say? Checklist for motel. Well, okay. Oh, it might have been maybe it was a heater, hot water heater. So, I mean, there's cabinets here. I don't see a stove unless it was taken out. Anyway, let's move over. What's in this small little room over here? Okay, so this room was pretty big. I mean, it had a hallway and everything. And even a space over here with a recliner chair. Does that kind of a rocking chair? It's not exactly a recliner. I don't think it goes back.
And of course there's the bathroom. So this is just one room. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing a tour of this place. Let's take a walk down here and see what we can find. So that was just a storage room. Maybe that was for the janitor where they kept all the cleaning equipment. Not sure. How about over here? Wow, this one's got a curtain like, probably a window. This one had a nightstand. You can see the bed frames over here. I think the other room had those too. Dish. They must have had Dish Network in here, because that's a connection for Dish Network. It looks like you could probably use that. It's a switch. Probably use that for a bunch of TVs on one. Would be my guess. Yep, little receptacle right there to keep your belongings in, I guess. Let's move on down here in Tuskeegee Motel. This room had a little window in the back. A very small little window. I wonder why. The other room didn't have that. It's a little peephole. Even the bathroom here had a little window. Looks like all the glass has been removed. Another one of those chairs. Stationary. They're not exactly a recliner, but definitely a comfy little chair for somebody to sit in and watch some television. I'm guessing it probably was attached to the wall over here. This is not a big room at all. Maybe it was one of the cheaper ones. Well, folks, each room is probably going to be... Ooh, wait a minute, maybe not. This room's got a lot of stuff in it. Well, not really. Somebody's been having fun with bedclothes and other stuff in here. It looks like the heater air conditioner. You could see the coils in there. Well, let's see. How about this room? Much of the same. Wow, there's something in the back of here. Something outside. I wonder how that got there. Polypro. EPS insulation foam board. You know what? I think that might have been the stuff that was in this room. That kind of could be foam board. I don't know. Man, look at the paint peeling off here. Wow. They have managed to put faux brick paint. I mean, that's not brick. It just looks like brick. And you can see it. I don't think bricks peel like that. But anyway, nope, no electric. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to go back into lecture mode.
Okay, yes, there are more rooms down there. The sights in those, though, are likely to be similar to what you have seen. Now, I don't exactly know why this motel closed. There is not a whole lot of info to be found about why it did not stay in business. It does, however, appear to have been closed more recently, likely sometime either in or after 2019. A number of reviews found via a simple internet search do show it having been used by Tail of the Dragon enthusiasts. That is, however, that Tail of the Dragon thing, a good number of miles from here. Anyhow, back to the school site at Lower Tuskegee. Here, the site reportedly was a mile, or a little less, from the Tuskegee post office, on the road leading to Sawyers Creek and Ecola. Yes, folks, there was once a post office in Tuskegee. It operated from 1903 to 1954. Furthermore, from 1890 to 1894, it might have gone under the name of Tuskeegee, though not entirely certain. That name, Tuskeegee, it is listed above Tuskegee on this list of post offices, so it did exist somewhere, I imagine. Now, this here, it is a specialized tool I know how to use, and here is what we need to do. We need to zoom in to Tuskegee. Now, at the far bottom right, there is a 1936 edition of Proctor. Proctor may be far out of bounds, yes, but that's fine. It is close enough. What that link does is throw up this map. Forget about Proctor. This map, it does cover the Tuskegee area. Let's get a closer look. This is the section we need. Remember earlier when talking about Bildine Gap, the one that I could not find that road for? Well, that might not exactly be true. It could be, because this cannot be confirmed with absolute certainty. Regardless, though, this does appear to be the only road that, in 1936, ran from Tuskegee to Sawyers Creek. That could have been the road the Sawyers Creek students used. By contrasting road and creek features of this map with a modern map, we can discern the whereabouts of that old road. Notice here where there is a break. Now, from Google Maps, notice this. Yes, it's not broken. The road still exists. However, contrasting the two modern maps tells me, likely, that it might be one bad road. I don't know. Still, as we move on with this episode, we will see where this road goes, and along it, there do appear to be at least a few old structures strewn about it. Wow. I wonder how ancient this one is. There is at least one instance when some of the students of Lower Stokoe did attend the Lower Tuskegee School. And do you know when that was? Yeah, reportedly, a year when no teacher was available for Stokoe. Why? Well, I guess, apparently, even in those olden days, there was a labor shortage. Who would have known? Then people began to talk of consolidating schools in the 1920s, and as a result, a large high school was built in the nearby community of Stokoe. During those years, roads were completed to Sawyer's store here in Tuskegee. Then, the two schools in Tuskegee and the one on Sawyers Creek were consolidated into the Stokoe High School. Wow, what do we have up here? Could we be coming upon an old store building, an old farm structure, or an old something else? It kind of does look like it could have acted like a store. I mean, it's got those story features, gabled, boxy, a door beside two large windows. I mean, I doubt it was a house, but I don't exactly know. Go check the property records and deed books, 'cause, you know, topographic maps like this do show area structures What they do not always show, however, is the use of such structures. Therefore, I do not know which structure could have been Sawyer's store. An educated guess might be at this location. This road did appear to once be the main road to Sawyer's Creek. I could imagine a store being at least a somewhat busy intersection, don't you? But a road was completed to the store in the late 1920s. Yes, the Sawyer's store, it is reported to have been located on Tuskegee, not on Sawyer's Creek. And yes, folks, the Sawyer name, it did extend beyond the creek of the same name. Furthermore, in the 1930s, communities along Tuskegee and other South Shore creeks were connected by a paved road that followed the general route of this here present Highway 28 across this gap right here, Chestnut Log Gap. This here 1936 planimetric map does indicate a dispersed village consisting of a few houses and a nearby mill centered along the creek about 1 mile south of its confluence with the Little Tennessee River. Due to the steepness of the terrain, most of this area was above the reservoir pool and not acquired by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Today, Tuskegee, it tends to be mapped a few miles up the creek at its intersection with Highway 28. Now, folks, the time has come for everyone's favorite subject, churches. And for those of you that do not know, this here is what a church looks like. It's a religious symbol, God's house, if you will. Well, the first Baptist church in this area that did not include a school was built about a quarter mile from Sawyer's store. The most likely date of that church is between 1903 and 1906. After the opening of this here Highway 28, the church members obtained a new location from Harv Crisp on this road. This here is the site of the present church. This one here, it was built about 1954. Okay, so this is as far as I am going to go on this supposedly old road to Sawyer's Creek. If this road does in fact go down to Sawyer's Creek, I am not taking this any further. A sign at the beginning, a sign you did not see, does say there is no outlet. There may or may not be, or maybe it is so narrow as to be nothing more than a trail. This road, it's a bit confusing, as there do appear to be a few side roads, most of which appear to be just driveways. I mean, there might be a road I should have taken prior to this point, and I am not even sure if I am on that right road, though all are dirt roads with very little room to turn around. This road here, yes, it does go farther, but things appear to get very gnarly down there. Anyhow, so the time has now come to discuss a historic house. I will warn you, though, there is not a lot of information on it. Still, it does appear to be occupied, and yes, it does rest on private property. Nonetheless, it might be a more important house in Tuskegee. This house here, it is a circa 1910 double-pen house. It has, however, been extensively remodeled since originally surveyed in 1997. If you don't believe me, just take a look at this photo of how it looked in 1997. Now, look at it. Yes, things have been done to this house. While its side-gabled, double-penned form does remain, the house, it now boasts vinyl siding, replacement windows, a remodeled front porch, and a sizable addition. As far as an addition, I'm assuming they mean in the back, over there. Was that back there added later? I guess that's a possibility. It's hard to tell, but let's move on to the other side. Now, I'm not going to go walking around in the back. I just don't know if there's anybody. Well, this house is unoccupied, but I don't know if there's anybody up that road watching it. But no, don't see anything over there. Okay, then the original stone chimney, well, that is, no longer extant. The architectural survey file does record the house as having been frame constructed, but does note that it could have possibly been boxed. Overall, I have to say, there are things that do not add up according to the description the document provides. There is today no vinyl siding on the house. There might have been at one time, as some kind of recent renovation is definitely taking place. Maybe there's an attempt to bring it back to how it looked, back to what it looked like in its historic days, like without the vinyl siding and stuff. I guess only time will tell, unless you talk to someone associated with the house. There definitely is a lot of remodeling going on with this house in these present days, now in 2022. Far more than even what the document mentions. A document, folks, that was written only a year or 2 years prior to this episode having been first aired. Now, for the final port of this episode, we are going to travel about 3 miles north to this intersection. This here is Cable Cove Road. Let's see where it takes us. So, Cable Cove, it is a moderate-sized cove on the south bank of the Little Tennessee River. The cove, it is drained by this creek here, Powell Branch. It might not look like it today, but in the 1940s, this cove, Cable Cove, it did constitute a small but distinct community. Although this 1,400-acre cove was not to be inundated by Fontana Lake, it was ultimately included in the acquisition area in order to save the $46,000 that would be required to restore the limited road access that would be lost to lake construction. Okay, folks, let me now turn your attention briefly to this document, the Fontana Report, published in 1950 by the Tennessee Valley Authority. In this document, it says that the principal routes in and out of this cove consisted of a river crossing made by skiff about 3/4 of a mile downstream from the mouth of the branch, and a poor public road which followed the south bank of the river downstream from a point near the crossing. Other means of access were winding paths over the ridges. At the time of acquisition, Cable Cove supported about 15 houses, along with a school and the Powell Church. Most of the land was owned by members of local families, although some had been maintained by the Whiting Manufacturing Company, once a prominent logging operation in the area. The Cable Cove land was eventually purchased by the Tennessee Valley Authority and later transferred to the Nantahala National Forest. With that said, folks, the time has come to put the Tuskegee vicinity to rest. Yes, the time has come to move on to our next destination.